FaZe Clan is a gaming organization that dropped 99% on the stock market in just 2 years, going from $15 per share all the way down to just 18 cents per share before becoming completely delisted from the Nasdaq stock market. Their company valuation dropped from $725 million in 2022 all the way down to just $16 million in 2024. This represents a 97% decrease in the value of FaZe Clan over the course of the last 2 years. In addition to this, founding members have cut down FaZe Clan from over 200 employees down to just 18 clan members. This means that they have cut 91% of their staff, and this is all in an attempt to save their shattered organization from doom. But how did FaZe go from the most loved gaming organization to a company on the brink of death in such a short period of time? This is a story of ruthless executives, backstabbing clan members, hundreds of millions of dollars being lost, and now the purge of over 91% of the FaZe Clan members. I'm Leadhead, and I'll be answering the question, what happened to FaZe Clan? The fastest downfall in gaming history. FaZe Clan's story begins in 2010, a time when gaming was rapidly evolving from a casual hobby to a legitimate sport. What started as a group of friends sharing Call of Duty trickshot montage videos onto YouTube quickly blossomed into something much bigger. Led by charismatic leaders such as FaZe Apex, FaZe Banks, FaZe Temper, and fueled by a passion for gaming, over the years, FaZe Clan has captured the hearts of millions of fans worldwide. With each video, each tournament, FaZe Clan solidified their status as the pioneers in the gaming industry and in the esports industry. They were shaping the gaming culture. They weren't just gamers, they were trendsetters, shaping the landscape of competitive gaming for years to come. But FaZe Clan's rise to prominence didn't happen overnight. Their first real bit of traction started with their montage videos in 2012. The raw editing style, along with the FaZe sniping gameplay, was a style that was adored by fans and still has had an undeniable impact on gaming culture to this day. In fact, the FaZe Illcams were some of their first montage videos to reach never-before-seen heights and pull in thousands of views. To this day, many fans will still argue that FaZe Illcams was their favorite era of FaZe. These videos would rack in hundreds of thousands of views, and in April 2012 would help FaZe Clan reach 100,000 subscribers, which was no small task in the early 2010s. It was around this time that FaZe Temper would join the clan, and he would draw in more attention than any other FaZe member at the time. It was clear that he was the main character of FaZe Clan during this early development era. Their subscriber count would quickly rise to over 1 million subscribers in the same year, 2012, and this was no small feat. Having 1 million subscribers at this time on YouTube in the early 2010s made you an absolute powerhouse to be reckoned with. PewDiePie was the biggest YouTuber of this time, and he had a subscriber count of 2 million. This is also around the time that FaZe Rug joined the clan, and with the addition of FaZe Rug, the FaZe 5 challenge was also implemented, where montages would be submitted by hopeful gamers wanting to be recruited and signed by FaZe. In 2013, FaZe would implement their first line of merch, which at the time was only reserved for the highest level of content creators. It is also around this time that they would begin having huge success with day-in-the-life style vlogs, as this is what was popular and culturally relevant at the time. The likes of Jake and Logan Paul were reaching incredible milestones, all off the back of this vlog-style content. FaZe was getting in on the trend, and they would also recruit iconic founding members FaZe Banks, FaZe K, and FaZe Jev at the same time in 2013, and they would immediately have a huge presence in the clan. FaZe Temper was the CEO, and FaZe Banks was the COO of FaZe at this time in 2013, and they were all living like rock stars, traveling around the world, making money off playing Call of Duty. In this modern age, it's commonplace for content creators to make millions of dollars off of playing video games, but back then, it was completely unheard of, and these guys were living the absolute dream. As FaZe Clan continued to rise, so did their list of accomplishments. They dominated the competitive scene, winning championships across various esports titles from Call of Duty all the way to Counter-Strike Global Offensive, or CSGO for short, of course. Their roster boasted some of the most talented players in the world, each one bringing their unique skills and personalities to the table. But by 2015, FaZe Clan wanted to turn their brand into a more solidified company. So FaZe Temper, the CEO at the time, met with the CEO of a social media company called Hubrik in Norway, who convinced him to purchase a CSGO team with an investment that his company Hubrik would provide. Now this company Hubrik is very important to the massive fall of FaZe Clan, and I will tell you why in just a moment. Buying the CSGO team seemed like one of the best decisions FaZe could have ever made. They were now getting major wins with this newly acquired CSGO team and were operating more like a business. But this marked the beginning of the end. The seeds of demise had already been planted deep within the organization. But everything looked amazing on the surface. FaZe was a powerhouse that could pump out tournament wins, top level content, and merch that just flew off the shelves. Overall, they were dominating the esports and gaming scene, and there was a lot of money to be made with this brand. 2016 marked the New York House era, an iconic time in FaZe's history, and a time when content houses was the biggest trend in pop culture. Fans still to this day argue that this was the best time in FaZe's history and that this was the best content house. This marked the beginning of an era of content houses sprouting up all over social media, and FaZe was at the forefront of this trend. Fast forward to 2018 and FaZe would move into the next content house, the LA Mansion or the Cloud House. This house hosted some legendary creators and even more legendary videos. Fans loved the idea of FaZe turning into a massive scale organization, and fans were on board with the luxurious habits of FaZe Clan. They were living like rock stars, and fans loved seeing pro gamers at the top of the entertainment industry for the first time ever. Introduce Lee Trink. This is the guy that took FaZe Temper's spot as CEO. Because Hubrik owned 51% of FaZe from their prior investment to buy the CSGO team, they were able to put their guys in top spots such as CEO. In other words, Hubrik executives had control of the FaZe Clan steering wheel, and one of the first things to go was the content house and Temper as CEO. These Hubrik executives were pulling the strings of FaZe Clan from the shadows, and nobody even knew it at this time. So Lee Trink took over in 2018 after FaZe had been dominating for a few years in the content and esports scene. You may recognize this guy because between 2018 and 2013, he was the face of corporate FaZe. But Lee Trink wasn't all evil depending on how you look at it. He was a competent businessman and he had a vision to make FaZe profitable. After all, the entire goal of Hubrik was to make money, not to stay loyal to the FaZe fans and lore. Lee Trink stated around this time that there was much more hype in the esports industry than there was actual cash flow. What this means is that while there were millions of eyes on the industry and consumers hungry to consume this type of content, gaming organizations were struggling to turn a profit and make money off of their massive investments. With this being said, the executives at FaZe saw potential for this industry and for FaZe to generate massive amounts of money. So over the years, the investments just kept coming in, and even though FaZe failed to generate any profit year after year, the money didn't stop flowing. But how could this be that FaZe wasn't profitable if all of the members of FaZe would show off their massive amounts of wealth with mansions, supercars, jewelry, parties with celebrities, and more? Well, to give some insight, in 2018, FaZe Banks bragged on Twitter that the cost of the LA FaZe House, also known as the Cloud House, was costing them a whopping $100,000 a month on rent. While their biggest esports win that same year was at a CSGO major tournament where the team brought in $500,000 in earnings. If you do the math, that major win only covered 5 months of rent at most, not including all of their other expenses. It was clear to executives that far more money was going out than what was coming in, and they needed more money coming in. In 2018 alone, FaZe managed to rake in over $40 million worth of investments from private investors, including famous A-list pop stars like Pitbull, various famous athletes across various sports, actors, and executives from big companies. And in January of 2020, FaZe pulled in an additional $22.7 million worth of investors' money. At this time, as we transition into the 2020s, the public's faith in FaZe Clan was at an all-time high. FaZe was seeing bigger money than anything they've ever seen before, and they were expected to use this money to turn a big profit for their investors. During this time as well is when FaZe Tfue, one of FaZe's biggest names ever, filed a lawsuit against FaZe Clan claiming that the contract they signed them on for was grossly oppressive. Tfue wanted out. He claimed that the contract was taking up to 80% of his earnings from Twitch and 50% of his earnings from all live appearances. FaZe Banks was personally affected by the situation as he did not receive any notice of this lawsuit. He considered Tfue to be a close friend before it all went down. He felt that the situation could have been handled on a personal level outside of court. But Tfue did not focus on the friendship side of things and talked only of the oppressive contract in all of his responses. However, FaZe did not want to go down without a fight, and they countersued Tfue, claiming that they only took $60,000 from Tfue over the course of his contract, while Tfue himself made over $20 million from streaming, and that he was contractually obligated to pay the company a share of that money, and he did not. They claimed that they tried to renegotiate Tfue's contract to make it more favorable, and Tfue was uncooperative and unresponsive at best. FaZe also claimed in the lawsuit that by Tfue starting this campaign and over-revealing the details of his contract, that he was massively hurting the company's public image, when he was legally under contract to keep the details of his employment confidential. But here comes the big twist. FaZe Clan filed the lawsuit in New York, while Tfue was living and working in California under California state law. Tfue's legal team stated that FaZe Clan was countersuing in New York just to try to avoid the consequences of breaking California law. They even admit in their New York lawsuit to violating California's Talent Agency Act. In other words, FaZe Clan was doing a whole bunch of corporate stuff to try and avoid the consequences from their awful and oppressive contract with Tfue. It was also around this time that it was revealed that FaZe signed a Fortnite streamer by the name of Highsky, who was only 11 years old at the time. It was revealed that FaZe was pressuring him to lie about his age, as it was clearly in the rules that nobody younger than 13 could join FaZe. This also got his Twitter deactivated, as there was issues with him using social media because of his young age. This massive drama hurt FaZe's public image in a massive way. This drama, along with FaZe Clan's new clout-focused content, was starting to slowly turn the public image against them. They went from a gaming organization for the people to an organization of clout chasers trying to flex their wealth on their viewers. It wasn't relatable like it once was. Regardless, FaZe pushes on, and 2020 looked like a pretty good year for them on the surface. They announced the 2020 FaZe House, a mansion worth a staggering $30 million. But the disconnect from fans was at an all-time high, as the clan felt like clout chasers trying to flex wealth at every opportunity, like the likes of Jake Paul or Icegum. The majority of their uploads were becoming vlogs and lifestyle videos, and the only gaming videos that they did were Fortnite related, which by this point had already hit its peak and was starting to decline in popularity. But FaZe was reportedly worth a whopping $300 million as a company at this time, and in June of 2021, FaZe Clan was featured on the cover of Sports Illustrated. This was massive. No other esports company in history has ever done this before. The future looked brighter than ever, until FaZe executives decided they wanted to move the company towards being publicly traded, which meant that they would raise money on the stock market by selling their shares. In order to make this possible, they had to merge with another big corporate company called Riley Financial. Do you see where this is going? FaZe kept becoming more and more corporate, with more and more of a focus on money than ever. While the future was looking bright from a financial and corporate standpoint, FaZe Clan was losing its relatability that made them popular in the first place. They weren't even called FaZe Clan anymore, but more on that in a second. In July 2022, FaZe Clan goes public on the stock market with their initial valuation at $725 million, a huge leap from their previous $300 million company valuation. This is in large part to their merging with Riley Financial, where Riley Financial would add $291 million to the FaZe Clan. At this time, corporate FaZe members decided that they would perform better in the stock market if they were to change the name of FaZe Clan to FaZe Holdings Incorporated, so they weren't even FaZe Clan anymore. And while the members of the clan were still producing goofy, over-the-top vlog-style videos, and one of their board of directors was even the infamous Snoop Dogg himself, FaZe Clan just had a corporate feeling to everything that they did, and it didn't even feel like the same clan that it once was. To make this corporate feeling even worse, in 2021, one of the original FaZe leaders, FaZe K, was the leader behind a huge crypto scam called Save the Kids coin. Other members involved included Jarvis, Tico, Nikon, and they were all temporarily suspended, while FaZe K would be kicked completely on the spot. Within only 2 months of their debut on the stock market, FaZe Holding Incorporated stock price would go from a high of $20 per share down to just $4 per share. This meant that things were not looking good for FaZe Clan financially, and something eventually had to break. Over 90% of their investors decided to get a cash payout within 2 months of FaZe Clan going public on the stock market. This led to a good payout to some savvy investors, but a huge hit to FaZe's valuation, as all of their investors were pulling out immediately. This took almost $200 million out of the company's valuation in just the first 2 months. Definitely not a good way to start, to say the least. In addition to this, it was revealed that FaZe was promised over $100 million worth of investors' money after going public, yet they only received $30 million, which also greatly affected the company's valuation. In an attempt to save face with investors and make a rebound, FaZe Clan partnered with their longtime rivals Optic Gaming to try and sell merch together. The fans were not impressed, as FaZe was so disconnected from their roots that they were now partnering with their longtime rivals, as if the executives had no idea what was really going on with FaZe and its history, and all they cared about was having a corporately driven business that made money. Lore and fandom didn't even matter to them anymore, only the dollar signs mattered. All of these factors, combined with boring economic and financial factors that aren't easy to understand, lead to FaZe Clan's valuation to keep plummeting lower and lower month after month. By January 2023, the stock price would drop below $1 per share, an insane decrease from their once $20 per share high. This was a major problem, because in order to keep a stock listed in the Nasdaq stock market, it needs to stay above $1 per share. So FaZe got hit with the delisting notice, leaving them only 180 days to increase their stock to above $1 per share, or they would get booted from the stock market for underperforming. They were able to receive another 3-month extension at the end of this time period, but it didn't matter, because in March 2024, FaZe was officially delisted from the Nasdaq stock market, being only valued at a measly 18 cents per share. This represents a 99% decrease in their stock's value over the course of just 2 years. A sad death to the once beloved gaming organization once valued at $1 billion. At the same time of being delisted, FaZe also laid off 1/5 of their staff, and so the purging begins. Around this time of being delisted is when FaZe terminated Lee Trink as CEO, and he was replaced by another Hubrick executive, Christopher Ockler. Funny enough, Christopher was also terminated about a year later and replaced with FaZe Banks as CEO once again, but more on that in just a little bit. During these years where the FaZe holding stock would fall at an alarming rate, beloved member FaZe Rain spoke out publicly against the corporate corruption that was plaguing FaZe, and the fans were on his side. Tico would also speak out in March 2023, saying that the terrible contract that Tfue rallied so hard to get out of is the same contract that he had been under all these years with FaZe, along with many of the other members of FaZe Clan. Tico stated that the corporately structured FaZe Clan stopped caring about their members and would make him pay for his own trips to gaming events. They wouldn't help him watch his own merch, and overall they showed no support to him. Overall, they didn't even care about their own founding members anymore. They provided Tico with no support in recent years, but still took large amounts of his income as part of his contract with FaZe. The community would once again side with the founding member and not with the corporate FaZe higher-ups. It was clear that corporate corruption was rotting FaZe from the inside out. In April 2023, FaZe Banks tweeted, "Give us our brand back, you stole it," and continues, "You have no idea what FaZe is." Everybody wanted FaZe to reconstruct their organization. Fans wanted it, and clan members wanted it. And this is exactly what FaZe did. This brings us to today, May 2024, at the time of this recording. This is when the kicking of 91% of the FaZe staff really took hold. At its all-time peak, FaZe Clan employed as many as 200 people according to their LinkedIn. FaZe Clan turned from a small clan of friends making trick shot videos into a giant company employing hundreds of people. Then, in 2023, FaZe announced that they would be laying off up to 40% of their workforce, bringing the number of FaZe Clan employees down to just 120 employees. But this was just the tip of the iceberg, as we now know, because FaZe Clan just recently announced in April 2024 that they would be cutting their organization and roster down to just 18 members. This is absolutely shocking, considering the 200 employees FaZe Clan employed in 2023. That is a 91% decrease in their staff in just 1 year. FaZe is undergoing a complete overhaul and restructure of their organization, with FaZe Banks at the forefront of the charge in the position of CEO. Banks stated that everybody that did not feel like a core part of the group was out of the clan, and that included many beloved members such as FaZe Blaze, FaZe Scissors, FaZe Booyah. They essentially kicked their entire Fortnite team, including High Sky, Nate Hill, Sway, and many more. All of their celebrity brand ambassadors got kicked in the process as well, including Snoop Dogg and Bronny Jr., all kicked from FaZe, and only these members remain. After all of the kicking and purging was done, and after the FaZe Clan stock tanked and got delisted, FaZe went from a valuation of $725 million in July of 2022 to a valuation of only $16 million in April of 2024. That is a 97.79% decrease in FaZe Clan's valuation over the course of just 2 years. They have since tried to bounce back by signing the following Just Chatting streamers: Lacey, Blackboy Max, Silky Season, and Jason the Ween, and these signings were announced in May 2024. But this goes against what FaZe Banks initially said, that if somebody didn't feel like a core part of the group, they were kicked. And now they add streamers onto the FaZe roster that don't even play video games as their primary focus of content. Now, I don't blame them for the purging and cutting that they have done, because FaZe is trying to bounce back from the corporate plague that rotted this beloved gaming organization from the inside out. FaZe Clan is trying to not let the flame die, and if that means cutting 91% of their staff to ensure the survival of the rest of the shattered clan, then I'm on board. Because I think the fans agree with me when I say that anything is better than the soulless corporate FaZe that we've been used to over the last few years. Will FaZe Clan ever recover and return to the days of glory that they once had? I don't know. But what I do know is sometimes you either die a hero or live long enough to become the villain. I'm Leadhead, and until next time, stay lit.